Having a good chuckle here this morning because apparently I scheduled this for 11:10. Add another one in there, but it is 11 o'clock. We're going live. It is recorded, so if people show up late, that's all right. They can go and catch the replay. But I'm here this morning with Jessie McMurray. She has been our social media manager since December. She's done an amazing job with our socials. She used to do our TikTok, but TikTok's just not really our platform, I don't think. So we're focused primarily on Facebook and Instagram. And a lot of people, I actually did a little poll, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. I was like, if you could pay someone to do one thing for your mobile bar business, what would it be? And overwhelmingly, people were like social media. And I get this all the time too in our group programs, where part of a successful visibility strategy is to be present on social media. People go there to verify trust in a business, and they dread it. They have so much resistance around doing it. They hate it. They're like, it took me 3 hours today to just do one reel, and is this even a real good use of my time? And the answer varies as to the return on investment of social media focus for a CEO. If you're running a business and you're spending 3 hours getting a single reel out, the return on investment is probably not great. And not only just because it takes up a large amount of your time, but you're having to figure out what works, what doesn't, what the algorithm is doing these days, what resonates with clients. And that's a lot of learning when you could just go to someone who actually knows what they're doing, which, Jessie, you have been a social media manager for a really long time. You keep abreast of all of the algorithms and all of the trends. And over the past few months, you've gotten really intimately familiar with our industry as well, wouldn't you say?
I would, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we wanted to have this little Q&A session because I know there's a lot of discomfort, I think, around outsourcing social media. And I am a perfect story as to someone who tried multiple times to outsource their social media and had it go not great. It wasn't terrible, but it also didn't feel like it was really protecting my brand or my voice. And it was just as easy to not post at all as it was to have somebody posting on my behalf that wasn't properly identifying the brand. And we've not had that experience with you, wonderfully. And so what makes your process different? How did you go about kind of absorbing MVP's vibe and protecting, but also perpetuating what we're looking for?
So that's a great question. And that's something that's so important whenever you outsource your social media. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so hard and so tricky, is because you really want someone who's going to match your level of professionalism, your brand voice, and just create content that looks appealing and that people won't know that it's someone else posting it. You want it to be authentic. So part of my process is when I first have my first kickoff call with my clients, I always like to really just spend, that first call can be kind of lengthy. We always tell potential clients or clients, set aside at least maybe an hour to 2 hours because we're going to dive really, really deep in your business. And during that first call, when we decide to partner and work together, we're going to dive really, really deep into, number one, what are your goals for social media? Like, what do you want to get out of it? We're going to talk about your business and what makes it so special, what makes it unique, your brand archetype. How do you like to show up? Do you like to say these words? Do you like to avoid this? So for me, initially, it's really just important to get to know the client, to get to know their business, the services they offer, what they're trying to do, where they're trying to go in their business, and then to get to know a little bit about their ideal clients, the clients that they've already worked with, as well as who they're trying to reach in the future. And then whenever we do create the content, it's a little bit of a learning process. We work together, and I know you can attest to that too. But like over the first couple, maybe the first month or two, we create the content with enough time to where the client can review it, but they're going to provide us with feedback. So they're going to say, okay, well, you used this word and that's a no-no for me if they haven't already shared. Like, I don't like to say this. I don't like to use this color or this font or whatever like that. And usually we've discussed, your colors and fonts beforehand. But, when you're learning how to be someone else and to speak in their voice, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So it is a little bit of a process, but we always do reviews of the content before it goes out to make sure that it matches the brand voice. So it's a little bit of a process where we get to know the business, but as long as you do your due diligence in the beginning, I feel like it's not a problem to be able to show up confidently in the client's voice.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the learning or the getting to know you process. With all of our containers that we're going to offer, there's a minimum of a 3-month commitment, and that's because those first 3 months are just so intense and there's a lot more effort on the team's part as well. Like you said, a 2-hour onboarding call plus all of the revisions that go into the initial months. But by this point, we've been working together 8-9 months. That revision process is pretty quick because you really know our brand, and so there isn't as much time or effort that goes into the curation of the content for me anyways, or for Dawn, who also does a lot of our approvals. The other thing is that when you first did it for us, there were some common things that you had included in there that I didn't even know I was a no on. And so I remember one of the first ones, there was like a stock photo, but it's a pretty popular stock photo in the industry. And like, I just don't love stock photo. I never like clip art either. I'm like one of those people that just doesn't like the cheesy aspects of digital graphic design. And like, we've never seen one again. So, we were able to set the expectation as to what we wanted. We don't like fear-based selling. So like none of that. And so it was a bit of a process, but it wasn't a painful process. It was a pretty quick and easy process on our part, which was great. And something that not all social media managers do, and I know this from my own personal experience, but also from client experiences wherein they'd hired some of these agencies out there, some of these popular ones that are like, $200 a month and, all of your social media, wherein they'll just go and post things without approval or without any sort of review. And it just is embarrassing for all parties. And so obviously we wanted to solve that pain point with having just a really solid onboarding process as a part of this.
Yeah, I feel like you really do get what you paid for or what you pay for. And I've experienced it in my own business with learning to outsource and hiring team members. You really get what you're willing to invest is what you're going to see as a return. So if you just want to do like a quick, find somebody on Fiverr, you can take time to really find someone, but like what you're just describing, like $200 a month just to throw stuff at the wall, you'll show up, but it's not going to represent your brand in the way that you really want it to, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We are open for questions if that wasn't clear. So if y'all have questions, you can drop it in the comments section, either in Facebook or in YouTube, and that should come through to us. But I've drafted some questions just in case people had issues drafting questions, or maybe they didn't necessarily know what questions to ask. So we can move on here. And when it comes to creating content, what is the use? Do you custom create everything? Do you use templates? Like how does that work?
So what I like to do is kind of a mixture of everything. And this is something that we definitely need to mention on this call. So any potential mobile bar owners or mobile beverage business owners who are thinking about working with us and partnering with us need to understand that there is a little bit of a commitment on your end, because I don't like to go all stock photography. I think that is just, it's not warm, it just makes you look very like stock, and people want to partner with people. They don't necessarily want to partner with a business. So we will be asking for you to share with us assets. So photos that you've taken. Now, these don't have to be edited. They don't have to be staged. We're talking candid photos of your team working, candid videos when nobody's really doing much of anything. But by sharing that piece of your business, we'll be able to accurately be as if we were you posting at events. So there will be that part of the content. So I'll be using, some images and videos from the actual clients, but then we'll also create different templates, yes, but enough of a variety to where you're not seeing the same. I'm very big on the Instagram grid. Instagram's got to be pretty. So I spend way too much time obsessing over the grid and making sure that it looks how I want it to before things go out. So for efficiency's sake, there will be some templates that we'll be using, but they'll all be branded in the business's colors and fonts, and we'll make sure everything looks really professional and good before it goes out.
One thing I've noticed about the templates that you've created for MVP is it creates almost like a brand consistency. So if I'm scrolling, you're posting, not me. But if I'm scrolling and one of our posts come up, I know immediately like, oh, that's us. Not just because of the content, but because it looks very similar, right? And that's what we're looking for as business owners in the branding space. When something comes up, you want, without even looking at the username, people to recognize that that's you, whether it be through color or vibe or, the other almost more subtle aspects. And templates really support that.
Yeah, I know. I've had many a talk with Dawn over the course of our time working together where we've talked about Mobile Bev Pros, we want to present in this way, like a very certain image. So I'm constantly updating templates too. Like I'll go through and look and see which one's gotten the most engagement and likes and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, the audience is responding to this. We'll use this. And then maybe if one doesn't get as much reaction, I'm like, well, maybe they don't like this as much. We'll recycle this maybe. Not use it.
Right. Which is that's the type of thing the CEOs just don't have the time for. They don't have the time to go through, nitpick through every post that they've done, see what the engagement level was, and then like repurpose, reuse, and strategize around that, which is the benefit of a social media manager for sure.
And your social media your strategy has to be ever evolving, in my opinion. Like you kind of start with the basics, but it's like its own little beast. It's constantly evolving and growing, and you need someone really who can stay on top of it and monitor it for you to see the best results.
And you've done a really good job with that. You're constantly sending over suggestions and recommendations. And hey, Sarah, why don't you do a video about this? Or we've seen really good engagement. We talk about this. And that's super helpful and beneficial to me because I'm not out there looking at that. And honestly, if someone wasn't telling me what they wanted to hear, I probably would just, be making it up over here.
Yeah. And we will be doing that too with the clients that we bring on for the Done For You social. We'll be sending them, depending on their level of comfort, some ideas of videos they can record. If there's something that requires their face and they're up for it, then we'll do a little bit of that just so their audience can get to interact with the people behind the brand. But we will be sending over like video suggestions too. So they're not just kind of in the dark as far as like, well, what do you want me to take a video of?
Right.
We'll definitely kind of handhold and make sure that they know, because the whole point of it is outsourcing. And we know that when you outsource your social media, you don't want to do anything. There is going to be, a little bit of a initial time investment, but once we get through that initial phase where, we've got our system down, I actually did like a little, I made like a little, I don't know what you would even call this. I mapped out kind of essentially how much time it could save a business owner. So like one thing that's really important for social media is that you have to be consistent and you have to show up consistently. And that's where a lot of people drop the ball because life. And if you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, you know that not only are you managing your business, but you're also very closely managing your family too. And I know a lot of the mobile bar owners are mothers. I myself am a mother, so I know how that is. There's always things that come up that get in the way. And so being consistent with anything is a struggle. So, but I said to myself, okay, well, let's say that you wanted to post one time a day for 5 days a week, right? That's kind of like a little bit of a standard. So just to throw anything at the wall, you're looking at maybe a 5 to 15 minutes to like take the photo, maybe edit it, come up with your caption. So let's just say you're doing 5 posts a week and it's taking you about 15 minutes. And these can be reels, they could be videos or photos. So you're looking at around 75 minutes a week that's going to take you. You're looking at around, once you kind of average it up, about 5 hours a month to create that content. And we were just saying one post, one platform. So it's going to take you about 5 hours to create those posts for Instagram. Let's say you want to show up on Facebook. Facebook is still, even though a lot of people say it's for old people, but it's still the most widely used platform. It's got the most users. So let's say you want to show up there too. Now you're looking at 10 hours a month that took. And we're not even talking about having any kind of strategy, doing hashtag research, trying to find local brands that you can partner with and include them in your content. We're not talking about design or, like you don't have time for any of that in that 15 minutes. So with just not even doing any strategy, just showing up, which is going to be better than nothing, that's still going to take 10 hours a month. And I know for me personally, every hour counts. So, when you are at that point where you're ready to start delegating, I know one of the coolest things I saw in your content was where you said to outsource your networking and have someone go to a networking event for you.
I hate networking.
That's so genius, because like so many people wouldn't want to do it because like they're shy or they just don't have time. But it's like once you are, ready to start outsourcing as the CEO, which you should, social media and your marketing is usually like one of the easiest, first steps, I think, to outsource.
Yeah. And the one thing that you skipped right over that really differentiates, I think, what we're offering to the community that other social media companies may offer, but we definitely in all of our packages that we've presented offer is engagement. So engagement is, and this is my personal preference for social media for mobile bars, isn't for getting sales. Although there are some people that have managed to utilize Instagram as like their number one lead funnel. I sometimes, when they tell me that, I'm like, okay, but what other lead funnels do you have going? Are you doing your in-person networking? Are you doing your cold outreach? Are you doing an email campaign? Because if you're not doing any of those, then obviously Instagram is your number one lead funnel. But Instagram, in my opinion, Facebook, in my opinion, is about engagement. And so if you are only posting and bailing and you're not actually using it for engagement of your ideal client or your ideal amplifiers, then you're doing a lot of work for less ROI, return on investment, than you could be. And that's something that is a part of all of ours. So somebody will be answering your DMs. Somebody will be answering the comments that are left, and somebody will be looking at the potential amplifiers that are in your market and actually actively engaging with them. And that, I think, is the real linchpin when it comes to having a social media company that really delivers and provides a return on investment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're definitely just not going to see the same results if you just go on and post. It's not going to get you the results that you're after. And I have some really interesting statistics that I want to share too. So 60% of the world is now a social media user. So more than half of the world's population uses social media. And this is from a study that came from 2023. And that's more than doubled in the past 10 years. So the last time I guess they did this was like 2015, and that number has more than doubled. So social media is not going anywhere. I mean, we all kind of know that. It's like an undercurrent that's in our society. The AI is taking over the world.
That's right.
I mean, we all know as business owners that social media is somewhere that we just have to show up, because 72% of people in America are on social media. And of that 72%, they're on social media for at least 2.5 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
So there's no other place that you can interact with people and reach out to them and show up in their newsfeed and in their faces. There's no other place where you can get that consistency and build a community. I mean, you think about networking events and the knot, and all those things are important. But whenever you're on social media, you're going to your amplifiers and potential clients where they are. You're going and meeting them where they are. And sometimes they don't even realize it. You just show up and there you are. So it definitely can't be understated, the value that it has in 2023.
I would agree. And I think our industry, that 72% is probably deflated for our industry, because one thing we know to be true is that people are planning events on social media platforms. And so, and I'm not just talking about brides. I'm not just talking about the private weddings or private events, but we know corporate planners are stalking the socials looking for, the next thing to make their event experiential. We know that other vendors, our amplifiers, have to be on social media for their own businesses, so they're easy to access there. So for our industry, I would say 100% of your clients are on social media, and they're looking to check your presence, maybe not even find you on there, but if they didn't find you on there, maybe they were referred by your event, you were referred by their event planner or their venue, or they found you on the Knot, they're likely going to check your socials, because people go to socials to verify trust. We've talked about the know, like, and trust factor. They know you. Maybe they like what they saw. Now they want to verify that you're trustworthy. Have you worked with other people like them? What has your setup looked like? What's your tone of voice? Are you inclusive? Do you have a diverse clientele? Do you align with their values? And that is what people do on social media. So I think it's important to note that when we approach social media, we're not approaching it as a sales tool as much as we are approaching it as a nurture tool, in that when they do drop into your lead funnel, they're going to feel like they know you. They're going to have an expectation set. They're going to know the ideal client that you're seeking for. They're going to have some of their questions answered already. They're potentially even going to have connected or interacted in the comments or the DMs. And they're warm leads versus cold leads. They're potentially even hot leads, because they've had that opportunity to know, like, and trust you already.
Yeah, 100%. And I know, excuse me, a lot of people, okay, so marketing and social media in general, when you talk to a person who's interested in outsourcing their social media, they're like, okay, well, what are your goals? I want sales. I want leads. And it's like, yes, we all want those things. But I was telling my husband, I feel like I know that I'm getting older, because this year for my birthday, I asked for a bread maker. So I
have one. They're amazing.
I know. I got my bread maker, and I like to think of social media marketing as like a bread maker. Like, you don't just like go over to the bread maker and throw everything in it and then say, bread, I want bread now. So it's like, no, you put in your ingredients and then you give it time. You let the bread maker start working and kneading. And then over time, boom, you have beautiful bread. And that's kind of the way social media works. So like for me, my strategy, I like to call it my show up and my show out, or show up and show off strategy. So the things that we can guarantee are that, number one, we're going to increase your reach. People who need to know you exist are going to know you exist in higher quantities, because when you have somebody who's actually focused on the SEO and the engagement and all of those things, you're going to reach a wider audience. When you're consistent, when your content's exciting and engaging, you're just going to reach more people. So number one, you're going to show up in front of more people that you need to show up. We're going to increase your engagements. So we're going to increase the actions that people are going to take on your page because of the quality of the content, because it's going to improve. They're going to want to share it more. They're going to like it more. All of these things. I don't like to put too much stock into algorithms because they change, but there's a few things that don't change. And one of them is that all of the platforms like accounts that have engagement. So you want people to be on your profile, liking, sharing, saving, all of those actions that they take, they signal to the algorithm that this is good, this is quality, let's show this account to more people. So we're going to increase your awareness, the actions that people take on your profile, which will ultimately lead to them taking that next step of reaching out, trying to learn more, clicking that link in your bio or visiting your sales page. So you're going to show up, but then you're going to show off. You're going to position yourself in the market as the bar that they need to hire. They're going to see through your content that you are the answer to whatever problems that they have or problems they've had in the past. So we're just going to show off, we're going to create a stunning portfolio that's going to really show how awesome your business is. So those two things, when you show up consistently and you show off, it does help you generate those leads, but it's a process. Like I said, you can't just throw it in and say, give me leads. I want leads now. But I'm sure, as you guys can attest to, having those increases in the reach and the engagement, they do lead to a higher number of people who are actually trying to take that next step with you.
Yeah, actually, Jesse, there's this one other piece that has been super valuable to me. And I was actually reflecting on this yesterday when I was doing my walk, in that your ability to take a look at our business and highlight pieces that I didn't even know were special has been invaluable. You say show up and, show out, and having that second perspective or third perspective or however, big your team is, to look at what you're doing and being like, oh, this is really cool. Like nobody else does this. This is something that's super special about you. And then highlight that. Like we're all too close to it. As business owners, we're too close. And we have this concept of like what we are and who we are, that sometimes we don't really see the things that other people see. And so having, someone else being able to look at the content and the videos. The other thing that you're really good at is that, like, something I see zero value in, I'm like, oh, this is just like a throwaway video, or this is like an image that we have. I don't know with the magic of social media, but like somehow that becomes a reel that does really well. You know what I mean? Like there's no trash content any longer. Like every little B-roll, C-roll, D-roll has some like value on social media that I'm just not in touch with, nor do I want to be in touch with. And so having somebody that can kind of see the true value, not only of your brand, but of the content that you're providing is huge.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, it's hard. It takes a lot of work to be creative, and sometimes you have to be in the right space. And as a CEO, I mean, you're not always there. So it definitely helps to have somebody who that's their job is to be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. We have not had any other questions come in. I did drop the link if anybody would like to book a discovery call, if they would like to talk to Jesse about whether or not these done for you services are something that you would like to invest in, if that there's something that is a really good fit for. And speaking of fit, Dawn did a bunch of the emails announcing this new service. And one of the taglines, I think, is that this is not for you if you're a new mobile bar. And I think that there's twofold here, the reasoning behind this that I think it's important to kind of touch on. The first is you might not have enough content. You might not have enough photos of your bar. We oftentimes get people that are like, my bar is still 6 months out. And we'll be like, well, you can launch with a satellite bar. And they're like, no, I really need my bar. But then they're like, we can't launch our website because we don't have pictures, and we can't do anything on our social media because we don't have content. You don't want to be spending $500 a month on a social media manager with nothing to start with. And so more advanced mobile bars really have oftentimes way more content than they think they do. They oftentimes, you can just scroll through your phone. I mean, I still have so much content on my phone. I'm like, oh, why is this even here? This is such a trash photo, but it could be something else. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's just something about having a backlog of photos, of, videos that can be utilized. But there's also the investment level. Mobile bars oftentimes are not willing or ready to invest $500 or up in their social media presence. And honestly, as a business coach, I'm putting my business coach hat on right now. I don't even know that I would recommend it if there wasn't a really clear strategy as to what you're trying to do with it, because there's so many other visibility strategies that are free or very low cost, and also are putting you, the CEO, in view of your ideal clients. And so in the first couple of years, not even just first, but at least 18 months to 24 months, it's important for you to be present in your business. It's important for you to be connected with those networking, with the cold outreach, because you're taking all of that feedback that you're getting and you're pouring it back into your business. And you're really honing kind of who you are to the market through the feedback that you're receiving. But at a certain point, you kind of know who you are as a business. You know your mission, vision, values, you know the brand, you know your voice, you know your archetype, you have your colors solidified, you have all of that. That's really when I think there's value in outsourcing and investing money and having someone kind of take your social media over for you and start growing your reach. So if you're a brand new mobile bar and you're on the call and you're like, man, I think I would love this. If you're willing and committed to investing the time and money to get the content that's really needed, as well as to allow someone to do this for you, then certainly book a discovery call. But if you're a no on either of those things, I practice this. You're either a hell yes or a hell no on things. If you're not a hell yes, then this probably isn't the time. But know that it's available for you, like when you get to that place. For me, just a little bit of a caveat here. When I started Bar Magnolia, I was working full time. I had a 4-month-old and a 3-year-old. My husband was in law school. He worked full time, and we were trying like hell to get our mobile bar the visibility that it needed. But I didn't have the ability to do as many networking events, which is why I ended up hiring 22-year-olds to go to these networking events for me. So I had to invest in that. And then also I hired a social media manager. And at the time, it was about $400 a month. This is back in 2016. It felt like a huge deal. And it really was. She did an amazing job. And back then, Instagram was a little bit easier to grow on. So we grew pretty quickly just by being present. And so that was a really worthwhile $400 for me every month, because I didn't have the option of doing it any other way if I wanted to grow. And so that's why I say, for most mobile bars, if you're not as very established and you don't have a whole lot of content, then this might not be the product or service or the best investment of the $500. But also, if you don't have the ability to go out and do it yourself because you've got too many balls in the air and you recognize the importance of social media, then this might be for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely as a CEO, as your business grows and you're just so busy to the point where you're like, I need to free up some of my time. I have to start delegating. I have to start outsourcing. This is outside of my genius zone. Then I think if you're at that point and you're like, I know I need to be there, but I just don't have time, I'm so busy, then you're definitely in the position where you're ready.
Yeah. We have a really good question from Simeon. He said, or he asked, is the listed pricing for posts, reel stories, engagement hours per week all for Instagram or split between Facebook as well? Or is like Facebook just a carbon copy of Instagram on both platforms?
Yeah. So what we'll be doing is we will be repurposing the content across the platforms, which is the same thing that we do for Mobile Bev Pros.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain guidelines and certain things that you have to change whenever you cross post. So we will be making, some changes and some modifications to the copy, to the tags, and even to the graphics or images if necessary to make sure that they're still what the platforms require for each of those.
Right. Like for on Facebook, you don't want to post link in bio, right? Whereas at Instagram, you don't still have any other choice.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too, I know that I know someone had asked like about being able to post to TikTok too. Like if we were going to be offering that as well. But the videos that you create as a reel on Instagram and Facebook, they will work just as fine as a TikTok reel, so there's nothing wrong with cross posting to different platforms as long as you cater it to that platform's specific needs and wants and what they want. There's certain things that they don't want you to do for each platform. So as long as you follow those guidelines, I don't think there's anything wrong with cross posting.
Yeah, no, nor do I. Just a quick caveat. It's like, why Instagram and Facebook? And that was really kind of my call. I've been doing this for a number of years, since 2016. And we started this year cross-posting YouTube Shorts, TikTok. We were doing all the things. And in my own personal opinion, and because a lot of our clients really are in the first kind of 5 years, I believe going all in on one platform, which in this case is Instagram. It's easy, to your point, to cross post to Facebook and to cross post to the other places. So you totally do that. But I think the formula of what people are looking to consume on other platforms might be slightly different. Although I do see all the TikToks repurposed on Facebook, and not so many of them on Instagram anymore. But I believe that our ideal clients as mobile bar owners are booking events and looking for vendors in Instagram. I think they might stumble upon them on TikTok. I think in Facebook, your best efforts as a mobile bar are going to be to invest in engagement in Facebook groups local to your area. So like we have Middle Tennessee weddings here, or right, participating as a community member in those groups got me a lot of leads. People would recommend Bar Magnolia through those groups. And I think there's value there. But I think Instagram really is the platform for mobile bars when it comes to presenting in all the different ways. And I think the reason I think that is because, one, it's proven they're there. A lot of our vendor amplifiers are there as well, if not all of them. But also you can show up in all the ways there. So you've got stories, you've got reels, you've got lives, you've got, posts and feed, you've got carousels. Whereas TikTok, you're really video. Facebook, you do have some short videos, but you are mostly kind of posts, right? Whereas Instagram, you just have so many options. And so you get to show up any number of ways, and you get to show up in ways that really highlight the different aspects of your business.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And Facebook and Instagram are very similar in what they want or what works on those platforms. So it's very easy to cross post. TikTok, the level of effort required to show up and be present on TikTok and really grow on TikTok, you can use a lot of B-roll, but a lot of what captures people's attention, like you said, is video and maybe like the business owner actually communicating with their audience. So like on Instagram, if you wanted to make a reel of like an image, that might fly on Instagram, but on TikTok, the attention span is so much shorter. People are able to swipe so much faster. So there's a little more of a significant, for the client, investment of their time if they want to show up on TikTok. So I think that's another reason why it's good to just focus in on these two platforms, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. Simeon had another question. What about LinkedIn for building corporate clientele? Or are they simply best found sticking to Instagram? I'll give my opinion on LinkedIn, and then you're welcome to give yours as the social media expert. In my opinion, corporate event planners are in the know about where the events industry hangs out. Largely, the events industry doesn't necessarily hang out on LinkedIn unless they're kind of the larger corporate scene, and they're not planning events there. So in my own personal experience, I have not seen a whole lot of success getting corporate planners on LinkedIn. That doesn't mean that it's not possible to land one there. I just think that those very same corporate planners are also on Instagram. And so, you're adding extra effort to show up on LinkedIn, and you have to change the way you show up on LinkedIn a lot. And I just don't know that it's worth the effort, but I'm interested to hear your take on that, Jessie.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree. I think for the mobile bar industry and the mobile beverage industry, the amount of time investment that you're going to have to put in to show up on LinkedIn is not going to be worth it, and you're not going to get the return on your investment. So yeah, I definitely agree with you that you're going to do better and have a better results over on Facebook and Instagram for sure.
They're so stuffy over on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? They're just so stuffy. Like, we're so fun, and we're like, we bring the party to you. And it feels like you're the class clown in the corner while everyone's like, we're trying to do work here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, so much of what's going to make your mobile bar stand out on Facebook and Instagram are going to be like the music and the effects and the videos and the photos. And, it's not really that type of vibe on LinkedIn. Like you said, it's more professional, Yeah. But when you're talking about being a bar at a party, you want to be able to show off some of that fun, that personality. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Pro tip, if you wanted to show up on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is the type of place where you go and you thank the people who have already booked you from the corporate world for booking you in the corporate world. So it's like, thanks to PepsiCo for having us out. Or you work with that accounting firm every 3 months, basically. Be like, thanks to so-and-so for reaching out, because then all the other accounting people who are attached to that, the people they network with and drink with on the weekends or whatever, they'll be like, oh, they do events. We haven't done a happy hour in a really long time. Let's reach out to equal parts. So that's what I would use LinkedIn for, is really just like showboating all the other corporate players that you already work with a little thank you post. At least that's how I've seen people interact with LinkedIn, but definitely not the biggest bang for the buck, I think, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you definitely have to consolidate your efforts, I feel like.
Let's talk a little bit, since we don't have any new questions yet, but let's talk a little bit about what does the monthly check-in call look like, and what do you use it for?
Good question. Okay, so for our first call, whenever we decide that we're going to work together, we're going to set some goals. And because for me, social media, if you're not actively tracking any metrics of like what goals you have, you have a potential to maybe waste time and waste money. So I definitely would want to begin by setting some goals as far as what do you want to see? Are you trying to increase your reach? Or do you want to increase your engagements, your link in bio clicks, or your actions that are taken on your accounts or your page? So then those strategy calls each month, will be focused on, we'll be observing those metrics. How are we doing? How is our content performing? Is it helping us to achieve those goals? We'll also be talking about like upcoming in the next month, what kind of things are going on with your business that we should be highlighting. Are there birthdays or important staff events? Do you have any really good shows that you're excited about, or events that you have coming up that you want to mention? You may have little things going on inside of your business that you'd like a post created for. So that'll be those times are the time that we'll go over that. We'll review the content from the previous month. And if you have any questions or concerns, that'll be a good time to talk about it. And really, I mean, it's just a great opportunity just to connect for a few minutes even. When you do something online digitally, we're not really, we'll communicate through email back and forth, but for the most part, there's not a huge need for us to really touch base once we get up and running. So it's nice to kind of have those check-ins like, hey, what's going on in your business? What do I need to be doing as your social media manager to make sure that I'm presenting you well in the coming month? So mainly we'll be tracking metrics and planning for the upcoming month, just to kind of touch base and make sure everybody's on the same page. That really is a good, just a check-in, just to kind of make sure everybody is on the same page.
Yeah. It really is a nice opportunity, since we're not looking at social medias all the time. It's a nice opportunity to be like, oh, okay, let's talk about how engagement went, what worked well, what messaging has resonated. It's a nice opportunity to actually get eyes on the socials, because I'm not constantly worrying about it any longer.
Yes. Another thing I forgot to mention too is that'll probably be the time when we'll go over a little bit about like what we want from you or what we need from you. Like especially, there's certain times of the year where you may need certain things, like around the holidays. We may request like a certain holiday themed photo from you, or just something that would kind of play up to that season. And so that'd be a good time to go over like, hey, can you snap a quick photo of this at that event? Or, can you record this footage maybe while you're setting up or something like that? So we'll use that time to kind of go over a little bit of that too, just with requesting certain things that we may want to see from you in the coming month.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking at my list of potential questions here. Let's talk about the cost and the package options. So we have 3 packages. You suggested a 4th, and I kicked the content only one kind of off a bit, because honestly, I think that the value here isn't necessarily just the content creation, but it's the engagement, it's the scheduling, it's the having someone look at your numbers, because you can get content only, like you mentioned earlier, on Fiverr or somewhere else. And we don't want to be just the copy and paste of every other mobile or social media management. We want to be very specific to the mobile bar industry, what works here, so that people here in this industry with this pain point feel like we are the very best suited to solve this pain point. So we have 3 options. They're varying. The major difference between them is the frequency of posting. They range anywhere from 550 to 1,000 even per month. They all come with posts, stories, reels, and they all come with a level of engagement. They all come with an hour or a meeting every month. It really depends. It doesn't have to be an hour. Ours usually aren't. And they all come with the extensive onboarding. They all come with hashtag research. They all come with strategy. They all come with personalized recommendations. And it really just depends on how often you want to have our teams show up for you. It's also important to note, you're welcome to post yourself. I do this sometimes. I'll just get on there. I'll do a live, or I'll post something, or I'll post a story. I go into the DM, all in the DMs. And so for people who are like, I don't know that I want to be completely detached from my social media, you don't have to be. You can post, you continue to post, you find something you're like, I'm really passionate about this. I really need this to get out. You don't have to wait for Jesse to put it into next month. So you can just throw it on there, do the lives, do the stories, however you want. This just ensures that you don't feel pressured to show up, because you know that there's content going out. You know that there's a representation of your brand, and that you have scheduled content that is coming.
Right, 100%. Yeah, each of the packages, they include kind of the things in my experience that I have learned are kind of essential, like you said, to really growing the accounts the way that we want to see them grow. The only difference between the three is going to be the level of content creation. So the amount of content that's created, the amount of work that our team is going to have to do. So that's what's going to increase that price, is just because it's going to be more that we're going to be creating for your business. But yeah, it's definitely going to be, even our basic package is going to be enough content to where you start to see those results. Obviously, the more you post, the more chances you have to attract that audience. So the higher up are just going to offer higher amounts of content being created and posted.
There was something I was going to ask or say, and it flitted through my head. It had to do with that. I don't know why I got so easily distracted from
packages, social media, content.
I don't know.
Work.
Damn it. And it wasn't on my list. I was like, ooh, I got to add that. All right, maybe it'll come back to me. Let's see.
Yeah, another thing that's really important too.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Sorry. Before I forget, the tool. People might be like, okay, well, how does this work? What are we using in order to create this content and schedule this out and do our reviews? What does that look like? We're going to use the Meta business platform.
Yeah, that's another good thing. Most people know, but Facebook actually owns Instagram. So they're really closely intertwined, and Facebook will actually allow you to schedule and post from Facebook, the Meta Business Suite. So we'll be able to create the content and schedule it there where it can be reviewed. And then it'll just post right from there. And they track all the analytics there as well. So it's a really good tool to use, just to be able to see everything all in one place. But Meta Business Suite is pretty easy to navigate. Most people should already be in it if they're active on their Facebook page. But we'll definitely go through like a little walkthrough of how to like go in, how to find the posts, and how to check the content and stuff like that.
Yeah, they've gotten easier. I still hate it. I hate everything about Meta's business. Like the bane of my existence is trying to get like you on there where you needed to be. Like, where am I supposed to approve people? There's so many the ads accounts in there. I'm just like, this is not intuitive. So thankfully you were able to walk me through step by step. We were able to get it done. It was very painless for me because I didn't have to figure out how to do it. So for those that are like, oh, I don't even know where to start there, don't worry about it. We've got it. Simeon asked another question. Is there ad spend to consider in addition to the package price? So nothing that we have presented here or that we are proposing has ads as a part of it. It is literally just maintenance and kind of that outbound posting. However, if ads are something that you want to ever do, that is something that we could consider outside of the proposed packages. The rates for ad creation, based on what I know of the industry, what we're offering, extremely reasonable, extremely reasonable based on what you might get from someone who just does ads and that's their bread and butter. But the other benefit here is that if you were to go to someone and you were to ask them to do ads for you, they're going to say, well, we're going to need 3 to 6 months to figure out your audience, to figure out what messaging really resonates with them. We're going to have to, throw a ton of money at the ramp up and the warm up so that we can make sure that what we're doing resonates. And we'll already be in there. We'll already be knowing and building that information about your audience as we go. So while we wouldn't necessarily recommend launching ads as soon as we start working together, that is something you could always add on down the road if you wanted.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see, we already mentioned this earlier, but when it comes to the length of the contract, we're only requiring a 3-month commitment. Again, that's so that we can really nail down, who you are, your brand voice, what's resonating with your audience, and start getting results that we can then, bring back to you. After that, cancel at any time with 30 days notice. We're not going to require you to use the social media forever. But I think you'll want to. It's kind of addicting, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and we'll be going over, each month of that 3-month term, we'll have a strategy call where we'll show you the analytics. We'll show you, hey, here's how things have improved. Here's where your engagement numbers are changing. So, and Facebook actually, when they report their analytics terms, they do them based on a quarter. So we'll be able to say at the end of those 3 months, okay, so for this quarter that we've been working together, your engagements have increased X amount over the previous quarter. So that makes that little 3-month time window like the perfect amount of time.
Yeah. Well, those are the questions that I had pre-prepared. It looks like we've gotten to all the questions that were asked by the gallery. Is there anything else you want to add, Jessie, before we hop off?
Basically just, like you said before, social media, it's not the only thing that's a part of your marketing strategy, but it is just, I think it's an essential part of your marketing strategy. We live in a digital age, and as a business owner, if you're not showing up on social media, you're missing an opportunity to connect with that 75% of people who are literally on their phone every day, all day. And a lot of what social media marketing is it's interruption marketing. Like someone might just be on there checking out their friend who's, on vacation or something. And then your content may show up in their feed. Somebody may share it and they may see it, and they might not even know that they need you, but now they see and they're like, oh, okay, I actually do have an event coming up. So it's that capacity that social media has to help you really reach people who may not have even known that they needed you. That makes it such an important tool. So it's definitely something that we're happy to be able to provide to mobile bar owners to help them grow.
Yeah, I think, we always talk about the concept of omnipresence and trying to be omnipresent. And we do that through a multi-pronged visibility approach that we teach as a part of the curriculum within the academy and a lot of our group programs. And there's a clear sequence that people take in paying you. there's the pre-awareness phase. That pre-awareness phase is like, they don't know who you are. They don't know that they have a pain point, and they don't know that they need you. Then there's the awareness phase. At some point you came into their awareness. Social media is a great place for that because it's unobtrusive. You're not like, I told the story about the dude that was in the USPS line with me, because it's a post office. There's always a line. And so I'm there just like trying to get through there, hoping nobody's paying attention to me. The line gets a little bit long. We're in the South, and the dude's three people back, and he hands this business card to the woman behind me. She does not know this man, and she's like, "What is this?" He goes, "It's a business card," and she's like, "Okay," and so she takes it. And he's like, "I make the best cheesecakes in the South." And she's like, "Oh, I love cheesecake." But that's a really intrusive form of marketing, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's very intrusive. Whereas with social media, it's a less intrusive. You get bigger, footprint for it. And it can be part of an overall visibility strategy to help nurture someone from awareness, which is like, oh, I know this thing exists, but I'm not sure I'm ready to spend money in it. And I'm not sure that I have a pain point that they can help me with, into the next stages of those phases wherein they're like, not only do I have a pain point that they can solve for me, I'm ready to pay them to do it. So if you're looking for better omnipresence in your marketing strategy, social media is the way to do it. And if you are not clear on how exactly to do that, that is where we can come in. Thank you so much for your time today, Jessie. I'm looking forward to seeing how we get to help work with the mobile bar owners that are interested in support of their social media, and then watching their accounts grow and their visibility increase. I dropped a link in the comments section. If you're looking to book a discovery call with Jessie, it's HoneyBook, y'all. We're using the tools of the industry, so you can click on it. You can, navigate through and book a call with Jessie, and then hop on a call with her, ask any remaining questions that you might have, and we can go from there. That's it. 6 minutes under the scheduled time. So
Yes.
if you have any other questions, reach out. Go ahead, Jesse.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you started giving the wrap up spiel, but I was like, oh, I want to say one more thing. But so I know this might just be me personally, but if I am looking for a business, like, because I do look on social media, like you said, I vet people. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I need this type of person. Let me go check them out. I do it a lot with like restaurants specifically, because I love to go out to eat and I love good food, and nothing irks me more than going out to eat and spending my money and I could have cooked something better. Like that to me is one of my hugest pet peeves. So I go to check, like their social media. And when I go to look, if there's nothing on there recently, like for me, I'm kind of like, that's like a turn off almost, like you kind of are like, or if it's not good, if it's like photos that don't look aesthetically pleasing or like are gross, like a bad photo of their food, I tell my husband, I'm like, no, I think we would go somewhere else. So I don't know. That's just food for thought, literally.
Literally.
I mean, it really does matter in 2023 how you show up online. So,
Yeah.
it's important stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time today, Jesse. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out, book a discovery call, and otherwise, we will see you on the other side.
Sounds good.